Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Friday, November the 18th. As I record this, a cold wind is blowing in Little Rock, and I mean that literally. A cold front's coming through. Metaphorically, a chilly breeze is blowing in this United States as Donald Trump begins to give us a more firm outline of what his administration will look like. Today, he announced that Jeff Sessions, a segregationist senator from Alabama, will head his Justice Department. He's an enemy of the Voting Rights Act. Mike Flynn, an unhinged general who is an Islamophobe and a homophobe, is going to be his national security advisor. Mike Pompeo, a congressman with Tea Party, Coke, and Islamophobe credentials, is going to be at the CIA. These do not give hope to those who were holding out for perhaps some good news as things came around. Elsewhere, there's a parade of Arkies through Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump about potential roles in his administration. One of them is Mike Huckabee, the former governor. He's been mentioned as a potential ambassador to Israel, which is a scary thought in some ways. He's been to Israel a lot. He takes a certain right-wing view of matters there, but he's a guy that's always looking for a joke line. Sometimes his toilet humor might not sit well with the very complicated matters that sometimes obtain in the Middle East. Tom Cotton, a potential defense secretary. Hard to believe a man that wants to go to war as much as Tom Cotton does would fit with a non-interventionist Donald Trump, but that was yesterday. Who knows what Donald Trump means? Leslie Rutledge, EPA administrator, hard to believe, wouldn't be good for the environment, but we lose her as Attorney General, so there's that. There's another man, Larry Arnn. You may not know him. He's a Pocahontas native, Arkansas State graduate. He's president of a very conservative college in Michigan, Hillsdale. He's been mentioned as education secretary. That's not good for public schools should he come along, but it'd undoubtedly be good for people who believe in school vouchers. Back home in Arkansas, the legislature today approved using $3 million in reserve money to begin implementing the Medical Marijuana Act, so there is that. We might have something to bomb some of the illness we see in the days ahead. Closer to home in Little Rock, City Hall is trying to deal with a budget cut. There's news out of City Hall that I've learned from sources that they're considering taking away a planned 1.5% pay raise for city employees next year, not police and fire, because they're under contract. City Manager Bruce Moore said he doesn't have a final decision. Meanwhile, there's a controversy brewing over a plan to pay off supposed accrued vacation and sick time for the three city judges who, although they make about $146,000 a year, are considered part-time employees. They consider themselves city employees. Other city employees get to accrue pay and vacation time. They're about to become state employees next year under a state law change, so we should pay them off for their accrued vacation time. The original bill came in at something like $237,000. It may be somewhat less than that. That's unfortunate coincidence of a timing of people making that amount of money getting a bonus windfall at a time when city employees may be looking at no pay raise at all. Ethics is on the agenda at the Capitol. Democratic legislators have a huge package of ethics legislation that is aimed at reducing the influence of corporate money through PACs, aimed at keeping legislators from being lobbyists and from using their positions to enhance their stature financially. The best bill in the package from Clark Tucker of Little Rock would do something about dark money. It wouldn't end dark money and corporate money in elections, but it would require disclosure of where that money came from. This is nothing but good government. Will any Republican sign on to good government? The majority typically doesn't like good government. They like the way things are, that favors the incumbent and favors those in power. The state unemployment rate held steady at 4% last month, so there's a small piece of good news. Another story in Child Protective Services this week. KATV reported that the West Memphis police chief was very unhappy. An infant was left in a car seat in a parking lot of a fast food restaurant in West Memphis, and then for 2.5 hours, the police chief couldn't get anybody from the Department of Human Services to respond. And this was after a problem a couple of months before that had led to a big meeting and a powwow that supposedly led to a good phone system for making sure DHS could hear about abused and neglected children. DHS, to its credit, after many years of always hiding behind child confidentiality rules and talking about such cases, actually laid out a scenario in which this was perhaps one of those situations where unfortunate coincidences couldn't have been avoided. People were in other meetings, people were off work, people were out of cell phone range, and they eventually got things worked out. But Again, it's difficult work caring for children. Sometimes mistakes do happen, but the state does need to explain why they do happen. In this case, they seem to have done so. Wish I could finish with some happy news, but I did want to point you to a video I posted on the Arkansas blog, arkansasblog.com. You can find it on YouTube too. It's Carver Magnet School, elementary school students saying, please don't close our school. It's a wonderful little school on the east end of Little Rock with a declining enrollment, diverse population. It succeeds by all the measures that say schools must succeed by, but they want to close it for financial reasons. Meanwhile, the state, which now runs the Little Rock School District and wants to close Carver, is allowing a brand new school a few blocks away with hundreds of new students that'll come out of the Little Rock School District and go into one of these wonderful charter schools, East End, which actually hasn't showed that good a test score, even though it's much wider and much richer than the surrounding Little Rock School District. This is what's happening in the school district today. The Walton Family Foundation has taken over public education in the state in Little Rock, and this is the result of push toward charter schools, no matter who it damages. But take a look at the cute kids at Carver. It'll make your heart feel good. It might make you shed a tear too. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back next week.